and welcome to Our Special Lives. I am so excited about this second interview with Cookie Rosenblum, who helped us in our last video with stress eating. Today, we're going to talk about self-care for parents of children with special needs. Cookie has an incredible podcast, which I will link to below, and her podcast has had over 2.6 million downloads on iTunes. Cookie has a degree in clinical psychology with a specialization in addiction behaviors, and she has 2 additional coaching certifications. She's been working with individuals at groups for over 35 years using a method combining brain science, psychology, life coaching, and life experience. Parents of children with special needs often feel like they have no time to take care of themselves, emotionally or physically. Even someone bringing up this topic can be very frustrating. But not putting thought into this area can lead to a downward spiral of loss of mental and physical health. If you want more joy, peace, and satisfaction in your life, but aren't sure how to get there without breaking the bank or having more time magically appear in your day, Cookie is going to talk with us about why this is so important and how you can incorporate self-care into your daily life without spending a lot of money or time. Before we get started, if you like these topics and want to hear more, please hit like and subscribe. And now I welcome our guest, Cookie Rosenblum.
So, Cookie, this is going to be the second part of our discussion. In the first part, we talked about emotional eating, habitual overeating, and thought patterns that can lead to that and other unhealthy behaviors. And today, I want to talk about self-care and how that plays into all of this stress eating, emotional eating, and why self-care is so important.
Well, what I teach is a 3-pronged approach to eating and just to living a good life. And one part is learning to eat like a natural eater, not like a person on a diet. The other part is mind management, which we talked about a little bit recently. The third part is self-care. We call it love. The reason it's so important is that so many people don't even think about taking care of themselves. They either don't consider it or they think somebody else needs to take care of me. I can't be happy unless somebody makes me happy. And or they use food as comfort, right? Food to feel good, food to celebrate, food as a reward. And I want to teach people how to use so many other ways to take care of themselves, to feel good, to reward themselves. And that's what we mean by self-care, filling your cup so that you feel good on a daily basis. And we're going to talk about how to do that because it sounds like a lot. And we know we're not all going to spas, we know that. But how to take care of yourself in little tiny doses on a regular basis so that you don't get depleted and worn out and empty. Because if you're taking care of other people, you can't let your own cup run dry.
So how does self-care kind of go hand in hand with emotional eating or habitual overeating? How does that interplay exist? And what are your recommendations around all of that?
Well, I think since most of us view eating and good food as pleasure, that a lot of us don't learn other ways to give ourselves pleasure. Or food is so quick and easy, we know we could get that, but we don't take the time to think about what else would feel good. And I think self-care needs to be ongoing. One of the mistakes that I see, Laura, is when people wait until they are worn out and empty and totally depleted to say, okay, I guess I need some self-care. Self-care is more like a bank account that you build up, giving yourself little doses regularly before you are empty so that you could feel good in your own life, in your own skin, in your own body, so that you have reserves to take care of the people in your world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's really so critical for mental health and physical health, but I think a lot of times people view it as a luxury, particularly people in this audience who are, like we talked about before, very stressed. Oftentimes, finances are a source of stress, and there's not a lot of extra money to spend on doing things. There's not a lot of extra time because your special needs child demands so much direct and indirect attention. And then, of course, you've got all the other things in your daily life to kind of handle and manage. What are some ways that people can engage in self-care without having it be a really time-intensive or financially intensive endeavor?
So let me talk very briefly about the mindset that would let you do this, because I have some ideas that are very low time, low dollar expenditures. Your world demands a lot from you on a regular, everyday basis. And it's not like going through a one-time event like the typical person might, where there's stress and then they recover from it and then they're okay for a while. This is more of an ongoing situation, right? So the self-care can't be once in a while. It needs to be ongoing. You need to fill your cup because you're always in plan B. You're never in the fantasy land of plan A, where you have the luxury of a nap in the afternoon and going every single week for a mani-pedi because things come up more often for you. Does that sound accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So once you get your mind wrapped around, okay, this is something I'm going to put in the calendar first for me on a regular basis. I'm not going to wait till I'm exhausted and depleted and I don't know what to do. And they can be little things. So the things that we've talked about before, like food or over drinking, those are false solutions to the stress. We want real solutions, and they don't have to be big. They don't have to be luxuries like a week away. You know, we all have the fantasy of let's go to an island alone and let me just focus on myself. No one I know can do that. But we're talking about little things like this, figuring out a way to take a tiny break. You might have to take multiple 10-minute breaks because you don't have an hour. You might have to get over the hurdle of asking for help within your circle, within your world, when you feel like I shouldn't have to ask for help. This is my life. This is my stress that I need to deal with. To get over that and ask for help from people who want to help you. It might mean something as simple as going to bed early when you can and giving yourself extra sleep instead of forcing yourself to stay up late because this is your only time alone. It might be something like taking a bath once in a while instead of a shower and putting lotion on your body just because it feels good. It might be reading a novel, not something about your child or your situation, but something that you might consider pure entertainment. It might be staring out the window for 10 minutes and just being alone with your thoughts. Might be putting on music, calling a friend, doing something that's just for you, but that's tiny. I think somebody in my group called it nanoseconds of pleasure. And I like to think of it that way because even if it's tiny, it adds up to you getting the feeling of, wow, I am taking care of myself.
And one thing that I did that I think was really helpful for me is a while back I kind of took stock of what I was doing throughout the day. And I just noticed that there were these little pockets of time that I wasn't even really aware of, where I was doing things like checking social media or, doing something else that was just a total waste of time. And once I could identify those things, I just created like a stop doing list. And I was amazed at how cutting all that kind of junk time out of my day actually gave rise for real time where I could do things for me, really without impacting any other area of my life.
Yeah. It sounds like what you did, which was very smart, was you looked at your time and you prioritized. So you got rid of stuff that was not really valuable or contributing in any way. And that left you some little slots of time for you to fill in for you.
Absolutely. I mean, when people are, up at night until midnight, on Instagram, not only is that leaving them depleted the next day, but I think there's enough research out there showing that, being on Instagram for, an hour or two at a time is actually really bad for your brain. And then, it just also lets in those other thoughts, especially for special needs families of, almost isolation, because you see so and so on this vacation, or you see so and so doing this with their life, and your life looks a lot different. And, it's that constant kind of comparison that can leave you feeling, bad. And so, that's why I've cut out all the social media, because I just feel like it's really not a positive in my life, and it can also leave me feeling depleted. The decision's going to be different for everybody. Everybody's got different priorities and things they like to do, but that was one thing I felt like could be pretty easily cut out, and it's been great because I have a lot more time to do other things that actually do build me up.
Yeah. And I think it's good for most of us to limit those comparisons that lead us to compare and despair. And
Hmm.
don't forget that people on Instagram or Pinterest, they're, they're posting these picture perfect, ad worthy views of what they imagine the perfect life would look like. And again, I don't know anyone whose life really looks like that. If you look at them for inspiration for a particular reason, like, okay, I'm going to redo my child's room and I want to see some ideas, right? And you look at it for inspiration with ideas. But if you look at it as, how does my life compare to what I see out there? 99% of us are not going to live up to that fake ideal. So I think limiting that exposure is a good idea. I like to think of it as stay in your lane, take care of yourself, your life, your immediate people that you care about, and venture out there to see what's happening in the world, but don't be out so much that you begin to question what's really valuable to you.
Yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, so by doing that, by freeing up some time here and there, I was able to kind of work some smaller things in, and even something as simple as just lighting a candle on my desk, that brings me great joy. And so if you sort of pepper those little things throughout your day, maybe it's listening to music while you do your household chores, or just kind of be aware of what makes you happy, these little moments of happiness. I loved the podcast that you did. I think you had a guest on, and she was talking about buying yourself new underwear.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, just something as simple as, like, wearing underwear that you love, that
Mhm.
doesn't, it's relatively inexpensive, and it takes no time, but it actually brings you, a lot of joy.
Yeah, or buying yourself one bunch of $5 flowers
Hmm.
once a week, $5. And you can split that bunch up and put some in your bedroom, some by your front door that you see as soon as you walk in, one bud in a little vase in the bathroom, little bursts of beauty that serve no other purpose than to give you pleasure. It's like they're not essential to life, but they're essential to bringing a little joy for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Cookie, if somebody wants to learn more about self-care and more about your program, how can they find information on this?
Well, you can find my podcast at Weight Loss Made Real. My name is Cookie Rosenblum. You'll find me there. Or you can also get on my email list. I have lots of resources. I have a monthly membership called the Freedom Group that works with self care, natural eating, mind management, mood management. And the way to get on that mail list is to go to weightlossmadereal.com/gift. And I will give you whatever my latest offering is, which will help you in one of those 3 areas.
That's fantastic. I love the content that you put out there, and I believe you've got a number of podcasts that touch on self-care that anyone can access if they go to your podcast. So
Quite a few, yep.
yeah, there's lots to learn. Well, Cookie, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate all your wisdom. I know you're going to help the audience really focus on these things and hopefully put some self-care in their lives because they need it. And I think you've given us a lot of great ideas on how to get it.
They do need it, and I hope they all give themselves permission to find a way to make this a part of their life. Thank you so much, Laura.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We're so appreciative of Cookie's time today. I will link to her podcast below, including some specific podcasts on self-care and her website in the show notes. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe. And if you'd like to hear more about these topics, please leave a comment or drop me a line at ourspeciallives.com. Thanks for joining.